Okay, good Shabbos. This week's Likutei Torah shir for Parshas Mattos-Massei. We're going to start with the Maimon of El Maseh Bnei Israel. This is the journeys that the Yidden took, and describes over there that each journey that they took from the different destinations that they took from. This shir is Leilim Nishmas for Rabbi Nachman Mendel ben Rav Yitzchak Libudu Chaim Tevim Amen. Just delve right into it. When it's written that why would we go through it describes each part of the journey and every destinations, and Moshe and Aaron, this talks about Moshe and Aaron over there as we were the sheep leading a flock. Why is it talking us about that? Alter Rebbe asked the question, is that to teach us certain avodas Hashem, specifically why we have to know this. So when we are yearning in avodas Hashem, we have to yearn, and somebody yearns for the Eibishter, he gets blessed. So somebody yearns for that, he gets blessed as well. And as it says, Mi Yale, who's going to go up onto my mountain? Bahar Sheo Mi Akum, and who's going to get up? So Naki Kapayim, somebody has clean hands. Bar Levav Shehu Libe Bar Vzach, when your heart is clean and shiny, completely without any problems, without any deformities. Not everybody can be the same in the neshamas. Carry what some people have made averas by mistake. Certain describes specific averas, but we talk about anything. Not everybody's perfect. Not everyone's done. So that to you I yearn. So now here we have a situation where we're trying to strengthen over, because of these situations, in our strength in my way of serving Hashem. But hold on, I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm not trying to lie about that I made mistakes. If you're only trying to show that I'm trying to serve Hashem completely, that I can only serve Hashem, that I have to be pure and have to have clean hands and all these different things that we need to be in order to preserve ourselves. How can it be how can I become close to Hashem if I have issues? And everybody has some issues. That is a very, very high level. And let's be real. Let's be real to where we're coming from. We go in the street and we get dirty, and we can't just stay in our Dalad Amas in the base midrash and just be clean. We have to be involved in this world. Just be realistic. How can Hashem expect from me to be completely clean? What's the answer? We have Moshe and Aaron. And Moshe and Aaron, it's as it says, as the sage says, if the person does not have fear of, he doesn't have chachma, he doesn't have knowledge of chachma itself, he has no fear. The person, it's impossible for him to start one without the other. You need to have both. Why? Because how could you start having one without the other? It says the sages that a person has fear who comes before their knowledge, before their knowledge is fulfilled. The explanation is that there's two types of evil. So you have people who would, before you jump in, some people don't want to become safer or sheikhet or anything like that. They're scared they're going to screw up. And that in itself is a fear of Hashem. So you need to have both. If somebody wants to be a sheikhet and a sefer or something which requires Yir Shamayim, and he doesn't care, he cannot be, you cannot have that. You have to have the element of both all the time. And so now we're going to describe the two types of evil. The first one is the evil, Ram Mamish, completely evil, and Asr, Isur Kal, even its general easy Isur. Not talking about something easy Avera. Shadivrei Seifrim, go to the rabbis. Certain halachas and certain things you'll say it's midrabanan. We have midaraisa, which is from the Torah. We all know the 613 mitzvahs as described in the Torah. But certain there's also other mitzvahs of midarabanan, that certain ways we have to do things. For example, there's even mitzvahs that you can do better. Some mitzvahs, if I, for example, light one candle for Hanukkah, I fulfilled the mitzvah, but there's always better ways of doing things. Now, if I did not light that one every night and add another light, another candle, that I do an avera? Not necessarily. It's not an avera. It's just there's a better way of doing a mitzvah. But there's some mitzvahs that we can say that it's a midiraisa and the midirabanan. So for the midirabanan, we can say because the rabbis have mentioned it, and we can find a heter for it that okay, you should have done it. There's ways of doing it, but if somebody keeps on pushing it off and saying okay, it's a midirabanan mitzvah, I don't really have to do it. That is an isser itself. That's a isser completely. It's a mamish an isra filushu isra. Even though we say okay, it's an easy isra. Divrei savior who ragamur will zetzach completely. That's why you have to have the fear of heaven as well. Even because a person might think, I know all the ins and outs on every isra. I know how many averes I did involved in this isra, but it's okay. It's not okay. You got to be serious. Gitar and naim yiras rab when the person has pure eyes from fear. And this purifies you with davar hara, this evil thing. Hara unikra ta'ivus Hashem. It's mixing up and it's making it's a bad situation. You don't need chachma to understand that that's a bad situation that you're in. What's the second one? The second one is a person dealing with heterim, certain heterim that you're allowed to do. Afilu beheter amru, as the sages have even said, certain heterim you're allowed to. You need to go to, but that heter itself, if it's an isser, you're playing around with fire. You're saying okay, it's allowed to do it. I'm allowed to eat, do certain things at this or whatever it is, whatever the situation is. For example, a certain heterim between mixing milk and meat. There is different hours and different times and people between. With that when you're allowed to eat from eating milk, from we start eating milk to eating meat, for example, it's there's different hours. But now some say I have a heter to do it because my family came from a certain situation. But now it's a general custom. It's a general meaning that everyone has accepted themselves to be more stringent in certain situations, and you're telling, but it's good enough for me. That's not that is that heter itself. You're playing with things, and this is not the situation we're trying to do. But it's explained by the Ramban in the beginning of Parshas Kedoshim. You can look at that up in the Chumash itself. In order to pater mirat, in order to make yourself pater from this to evil, the person has to first understand what's going on. He has to have knowledge. Chachma, how you get that? Through Moshe and Aaron. So Moshe and Aaron, this is a concept that the Alter is bringing. It's called Shoshbina de Malka, Aaron Shoshbina de Mitrinisa. So they're at a wedding under the chuppah. You have the father, the side of the groom and the side of the bride, the chassan and the kala, who lead the chassan and kala underneath the chuppah. And those two over here spiritually are represented by Moshe and Aaron to represent the Yidden here, one for the groom, one for the kala. Now, because why? Because you're bringing the king to unite with the world, which we're dealing with the world. We're dealing with Knesset Israel, the Jewish people. They're considered the Kala, the bride, and the Eibishter Hashem is considered the Chassan. Because he's surrounding all the worlds. And be down here, so it ought to be down involved in this world. Like it says that Hashem, he wants that there should be a dwelling place for himself down this world, just like a chassan and kala when they get married. The first thing is that they go and live in a house. They need to have an apartment all set up, and so this is what the Eibishter wants. He wants to he wants to be in this world. He wants to be with us in this world. Through Torah and mitzvahs, and this is what draws down godliness into this world. That the Torah is completely shmeisiv, is what? It's Hashem's name. And that starts Sham Hu Ba'is, and this is with letters, and this is that the letters you cannot grasp. So how it all breaks down into each individual letters and names and everything that come down, you can't comprehend it. Even so, to a certain superficial point that you can understand that. You're not going to really fully comprehend the whole situation, how it works. But we know it works. There are mitzvahs, but by fulfilling mitzvahs, this is how we bring the holy names into this world and everything that we create and utilizing the world and around us. And Nikram Ivri de Malka, this is called the body of the king, the limbs of the king. As the example is, the analogy, that mitzvahs are the limbs, just like in every limb, there's life and a neshama. In every mitzvah, there's also life force of godliness in the person, and this, when you do a mitzvah, for example, when you wrap yourself in talis, tzitzis in the morning, and you draw down this, you're starting to draw down the concept of Soviv Kol Almin, that surrounds the whole world. And this is how, when you put on tefillin itself, is the drawing down of the unity of the Hashem. And this is Mimela Nifra the Minaran. This separates you from the evil. Esh Yavdu Rishai Mipnei Elikim V'Chsiva Har Sinai Ashen Kula Mipnei Asher Yired Alav Hashem Be'esh. And this is how this is connected with fire, and how that Hashem came down to this world on Har Sinai, and he used fire. So this with that fire allows it to separate from the evil that does exist in this world, to completely separate ourselves from it. And this is one of how we do it. It's filling on. And this is the thorns that existed, and this thorns pushed it all away. And this is the fire that when you bring fire to something, it goes back. It stays far back. And Moshe and Moshe is das. It's as he can contemplate it and comprehend it, and this is why it's as the sage says, person cannot go do an avera unless some ruach shtus, this folly, this wind of folly, it comes in, some random folly. That's the only time a person would be doing it, because everybody knows I know the right direction, the right place I want to be, and where I'm going to. That even something very easy, Kal Shabakalim, and he does not want to do it. Leah is Perik Oil because he knows he's going to distance separate me between Hashem, my neshama, this holy neshama from Hashem, and I cannot fathom that. Nothing else I can comprehend it. Because Hashem is with me, part of me. And this is that I talk about physical things that I want to do. So whenever I talk of spiritual things that I need, any physical stuff, it's separating yourself from what it truly, your spiritual truly can, to be truly connected. Because it cannot be that I want to take the son away from the father. This is how great is my inheritance. We have Torah Tzivul Moshe, which is the Marasha, that your Yerusha, that the inheritance of each and every one of us is entitled to. No darkness can make this dark. No darkness will make it any dark. Because my darkness is fire. Because even fire cannot separate between me and the Eibishter. That's where I want to be. I want to be connected to the Eibishter. And this is what Kodesh Atzmecha B'muta. And this is what it means to make yourself holy with the things that are allowed. Even though it's allowed. It's only allowed. Yes, you're allowed to eat. It's kosher. I'm allowed to eat it. I'm allowed to do all these things, even though it's allowed. That for my body, because it's denying me, it's distancing me from the Eibishter. This not allows me to go with this heter itself. And this is what it means to be holy. Because I am holy. Hashem, and this is what it means that I am holy. That Hashem is united with Shekhinah Aaron, that the Shekhinah is the start of Aaron. That this is that they're leading Moshe and Aaron are leading us to this being united with the Eibishter at this chuppah ceremony, at this wedding, and we're going to be in order for us to, because we yearn to be with Hashem. This awakens us up, arouses us up. This yearning, which down from Mimata Lamala, from down here down up to above. This you should know when we're talking about that. Aaron is leading us over there. So because Aaron is dealing with davening. That's how we get to, Aaron is Moshe. Obviously, was with Torah Tzivlan and Moshe. Moshe is bringing us from on one level from where we're getting connected to Hashem with learning Torah, and Aaron resembles the davening part. That's the two parts of Avodas Hashem, was how we connect to Hashem. So this is how it says. That's to davening. That I am thirsty for my neshamas thirsty. He's boiling this with Psukei de Zimra. When it comes to Psukei de Zimra, in that situation of Psukei de Zimra, in davening kodim kriyat. Why do we say that before kriyat Shema? Because we have to yearn to have that unity. That my love for Hashem comes into, it gets expressed in kriyat Shema. And only when this love is in exile and hidden, and I can't see it. Just like what happened in Adam, that even though the neshama is with them, when we are exiled, this person's heart is yet gets excited. To be excited, to be nullified, to be right with Hashem. For example, there's an analogy. When we see davar with something physical, master shal adam battle neged ruchnis, which completely spiritual things are completely nullified when it comes to spiritual things. Come on, machshava, lack thought. And there's a ragli yachayis keneged kulam. Top of the page 176. Perish madrigish hu atechtan b'chins chayis hu ruchnis keneged kulam, because we spiritually is the spiritual aspect of it is in comparison to the physical. Because you can't compare physical to spiritual. You have somebody, for example, just to make this clear, you have somebody who puts on tefillin, and tefillin is limited in space. It's limited in its manufacture. It's a physical object, but you can't compare the spiritual greatness, no matter what tefillin it is, simple tefillin, expensive tefillin, doesn't matter. But the person who put on tefillin is incomparable. But the spiritual gain that it creates, and the love that it creates, and all the benefits of putting on tefillin, it's incomparable to the physical aspect of it, which is still always limited. That's why it's such a big thing to put on tefillin. One of the reasons putting on tefillin, you can't compare the penny that goes in the coin that goes in the pushka into the tzedakah, into the charity box. You can't comprehend that when you're giving tzedakah to how much to what the spiritual benefit is. The spiritual obviously is so much greater. Even something physical. Every single spiritual thing, which has a spirit, which very high spiritual aspirations, and